Welcome back to week 2. We are going to start with some backgrounds. So this first one that I'm going to do, I'm going to use a little bit of collage, which I talked about using the matte medium to put down any collage. So last week I did some tissue paper, so we're going to repeat that process so that you can see that. And then I'm going to use some watercolor on this page to create a fun, quick background. And I'm going to use the clear gesso as well to kind of prep my page. So the first thing I need to do is exactly that, prep my page. So the clear gesso is completely transparent. Let's start with that. Today's backgrounds, feel free to skip ahead. I have put in chapters so you can check out everything quickly. Here is a sneak peek of what is to come. Today we will start with the backgrounds. Next week are the layers, and then the following week will be the finishing touches. So I'm going to start with this clear gesso, and what this is going to do is prep my page so that I can put anything down on the paper. But I really like this, the dotted or the grid dot on the back. And so I want to keep that behind the watercolor. So I'm just going to prep this, and I'm going to do some collage down here. So I'm going to avoid that area, to be honest, and just focus on this top part. And then just let that dry. Now I'm going to be honest with you, this isn't even 100% necessary depending on what kind of paper you have. So if you have watercolor paper, then obviously you wouldn't need to put this down, right? Because you could just put the watercolor right on top of the paper. This book has rather, I mean, they're thick pages, so it would handle the watercolor. I've actually done it before. But this way I know that the watercolor won't go through the paper. While that's drying, I'm going to go right into the collage, and I'm going to do two things here. With collage, you can pick any kinds of papers, and I just have some of these older antique papers that I took out of old books, and I'm going to put some across the bottom here. Really, the idea is just to have fun. When you are doing this collage, I do use the matte medium. I'm just going to get some of that, and I'm going to go ahead and put these down on the bottom. Now you can place them all out and, make sure they're arranged the way that you want them to be arranged. Certainly take your time with this, but the whole idea is to get a quick background down. So if you're looking for some ways to get down a quick background, you can definitely do that just by putting on the papers. I know that I want them in this general area, so I'll just be putting them down there. Okay, just like so. And then I'm going to take that tissue paper and I'm going to go ahead and rip a few strips. And they're pretty much the length of the paper, which is nice. Or the length of the spread that I'm doing, which is nice. And there should still be some glue down, so I'm just going to go ahead and lay that on top. And the whole idea here is to see the words through the tissue paper. So you can see that here as I lay this down, you can see those words right through the tissue paper, which is exactly what I'm going for. Be a little gentler than I am being. I'm trying not to rush, but just to take my time. But sometimes when I'm recording, I feel like I have to rush So I have to tell myself to slow down. So the whole thing with collage is you're just layering the different papers and ephemera down. Okay, and then I'm going to do another layer down here at the bottom. Okay, I really like how that looks. I'm going to do one more. Actually, no, I think I'm going to keep it this way. I think I'll keep it this way, and then we'll move on to the watercolor. So for the watercolor, I have this Winsor & Newton On The Go watercolor kit. You can pretty much buy it anywhere. I will put the link below with my Amazon affiliate, but you can pick this up at Michael's or anywhere that you can find a good deal. I know at Michael's a lot of times you can get good deals there. So definitely you do not have to get it through the Amazon link, but I just want to provide it so that you can find this. It comes with a water brush, and this is a smaller water brush. It doesn't hold a lot of water, but it's enough for what I'm doing here. But you just run that under water and fill it up, and then you're good to go. So with this, I really want to create this light feeling. But I'm also keeping in mind my next step. So my next step is going to be adding some white gesso over the top, some acrylic white gesso over the top. So I really want to go in with this crimson color and the white probably mixed together. Well, I want to create a pinky color in this background. And now that the clear gesso has dried, you can definitely feel the tooth that is there as well. So to prep this area, I'm gonna spray it with some water from my water bottle, and then I'm going to put the watercolor down. So this is a wet on wet technique. If you're familiar with watercolor, go ahead and spray that down, and then I'm gonna add some water to this and kind of activate that. And I want some white as well. I want it to kind of have like a pinky tone. And then I'm just going to drop that in. And what I'm doing is I'm squeezing on this to kind of let it go out. So since I have that water on there, it's going to kind of collect into those pools of water. And you can always spray this to really move around that paint. And then I'm going to run this around the edges here. And what I'm doing is I'm just squeezing the water out of the tube and kind of running that through. And I want it to have just a really kind of sketchy or messy look. If you want it to have more of a blended look, you could take a bigger brush and work that through as well. But then just keep in mind that you'll have, you know, marks of that paintbrush working through there. But it does get to the surface a lot quicker so that you have that background very quickly. I'm also going to carry that into the bottom here. So I'm just going to run that over. It still has some paint on it. And then I'm going to grab some more. All right, and there you have it. I have one of my backgrounds ready to go. Let's work on another one. Okay, for the next background, I'm gonna work with a completely different color palette. I'm gonna work with my acrylic inks. I have muted green, muted turquoise, and then I also have muted violet. So it's gonna have a cooler color palette. And then I'm also going to use this iridescent bright gold Liquitex ink as well. So I'm gonna go ahead and prep my page with my clear gesso, just like I had before, except this time I'm gonna do the whole thing because I'm not gonna do any collage at the bottom. And I'm gonna grab my larger brush so that I can get that on very quickly. So again, this is just prepping my page so that nothing goes through onto the other side. And it also gives my page a nice tooth so that it grabs on to whatever materials I want to use. Okay, and then I'll let that dry. Okay, so I'm gonna go ahead and apply these inks. I usually just take them right out of the tube. It has a little eyedropper, and then you can put them on your page however you want. And then I'm gonna grab my filbert brush and get some water on it and push that around. And I'm being pretty generous because I want to drip that. I'm just gonna have it go down my page. You can put some paper towel or something to protect your surface. I don't mind if mine gets messy, but that's just gonna kind of run down. And then I'm gonna grab my spray bottle to help that go faster. And then my brush again. Just really letting that ink run down the page. It looks super messy right now. Just totally fine. And I'm gonna grab some of the muted green. And I'm gonna do the same thing. And I'll let that run over the page. I did put some wax paper, some parchment paper around my book to protect it. Okay, and now I'm gonna grab my bigger brush so it can have a little bit more ground coverage. And I'm gonna push some of that around. I wanna keep some of these marks though. It creates a very quick and fast background, as you can see. Quickly fills that up. And then I'm gonna get some of that muted violet. I'm gonna add some more over here too. Go back to my filbert brush and add some more of that violet up here too, just so it matches the other side. Ooh, I like how that worked out. Okay, nice. Okay, so we have a good start, but I want the whole thing to be filled, and you can still see some of the dot grid coming through. You can still see some of the dot grid coming through in lots of different places, but I just want to cover up some of that white. So I'm going to add my spray bottle. This is just water. So now I'm just going to take my brush and I'm going to kind of move the acrylic ink around here and there. This will give it, obviously you'll see the brush strokes. And I'm being very intentional to go sideways and then up and down, sideways and then up and down. It's a preference. You can do whatever you want to do. But it's just creating like a pattern as I go across the page. The next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to take some paper towel. You can also use a cloth if you don't want to use paper towel, and I'm going to blot some of this away. So I just want to do this in certain places. I don't want to do it everywhere. And it's also going to create some texture on your paper as well. You can choose to eliminate this step if you like the way that it looks as is. And this is basically going to pull some of that ink off, while also creating some texture. So what this has done is created a very cool palette for us to work on, and also kind of gave us like a grungy kind of look. So that's a quick way that you can create a background for your page just by using the acrylic inks. For this final spread, I am going to do something very different compared to the other two. I'm going to use my black Posca pen, and I'm going to journal all throughout this spread. I'm not prepping it with anything. It's just the texture of the paper, and I'm going to write through there. So I'm going to do that right now. I'm going to be writing from one of the pages in my mushrooms book. You can grab a poem or you know, anything that you want to write. You can just write from memory if you want to, but I'm using this as a reference. So I just took this out to my garage, and I sprayed it with a fixative, hoping that it will kind of help with the Posca pen. I have found sometimes it smears, and so I just do that as an extra protective step. So I'm going to cover the whole thing with this High Flow Raw Sienna acrylic. And I'm going to use my brayer to do that. And so I'm just going to put some onto this plate here. And use my brayer to run across this and cover the whole thing. So just get some paint on that. All right, and then I'm gonna get my larger filbert, and I'm just gonna finish off these parts in here. Grab some of that leftover paint. I just want all of the white to be gone so that the whole thing looks like old stained tea-dyed stained paper. Okay, and then I'm just gonna run this back over it one more time. And two, I'm gonna put some pressure on these edges to give it some line marks like that. If you put pressure on that edge, then you'll get some of those line marks. And I want to do that as well so that it looks worn. Looks like worn paper underneath. Okay, got it all covered. All right, so if that wasn't the easiest background, I don't know what was. It was literally two things, the Posca pen and the High Flow acrylic. You can do this with any color acrylic. So I just really wanted that tea-dyed look. So there is the final background. Thank you so much for joining me. I hope that you enjoyed learning how to create these different backgrounds in your mixed media art journal. I'm so excited about how they turned out. I hope that you have fun playing around in your mixed media art journal as well. And if you want to know how I add the layers, make sure you watch this next video.